7 bone-chilling true horror encounters from Kentucky that haunt today. At midnight the clock struck 12, and the air thickened. Shadows danced under the flickering streetlights of a sleepy Kentucky town, whispering secrets of terror from the past. Every haunted alley, every creaking old house, breathed a story of those who never truly left. This was no ordinary night, this was the midnight when ghosts walked among the living, and the chill of their presence was palpable. Even the bravest souls felt a shiver race down their spines as tales of old began to surface. It all started with the tale of the Bell Witch, a name that sent shivers through the hearts of locals. Legend spoke of a sinister force that tormented the Bell family in the early 1800s. They said it could mimic voices, even whispering sweet nothings before transforming into a chilling screech that could split eardrums. Folks claimed you could hear it echoing through the night, bringing dread to your doorstep. Imagine the suffocating fear of hearing a voice call your name, only to find nothing but shadows. That's how it began, an unexplainable pull to the ruins of the Bell home where echoes of the past rang loud and clear. But what truly happened there? No one really knows, and then there's the haunting of Waverly Hills Sanatorium, an abandoned hospital that housed the sick and dying during the tuberculosis epidemic. They say if you listen closely, you can hear the whispers of the souls that were never freed, flashes of desperate faces, their eyes pleading for escape. Footsteps echo in the empty hallways, and reports of ghostly figures darting from corner to corner make the hair on your neck stand at attention. Those who dared to explore its dark corridors often felt an icy grip on their shoulders, a reminder that the past always lingers. What untold horrors lie within those crumbling walls? As the tales unfolded, a young woman named Sarah sat in rapt attention, gripping her chair like a lifeline. Her heart pounded in her chest, feeling the weight of every haunting tale. The room hushed, every breath a silent prayer against the darkness. But she had to know more. She had to see these terrifying places for herself. Would she be brave enough to face what lurked in the shadows? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Sarah's gaze drifted to the darkened window, where strange shapes flickered beyond the glass. It was as if the stories were coming to life around her. What was that? A fleeting shadow, or perhaps just the wind? Questions brewed in her mind, and with every nerve-wracking tale, her determination grew. With a burning curiosity, she set out to uncover the truth, ready to confront whatever haunted Kentucky at midnight. What would she find when she crossed into the realm of the unknown? Sarah felt the rush of adrenaline coursing through her veins as she stepped out into the night. The moonlight painted the streets in shades of silver, and the chill of the air bit at her skin. Still, her heart raced not with fear but with a thrilling anticipation. The tales she heard echoed in her mind like a whispered incantation, urging her to delve into the darkness. Her first stop was the Bell Witch's grave. Locals claimed it was the epicenter of the malevolent spirit that tormented the Bell family more than 2 centuries ago. As she approached the overgrown patch of land, her breath came quick, unsteady. What if the stories were true? What if she felt the chilling grip of the witch herself? Gripping a flashlight, she aimed it into the thick brush, its beam trembling. The beam caught glimmers of glass, fragments of broken tombstones long forgotten. Suddenly, a rustle echoed nearby, sending her heart into her throat. Just the wind, she whispered, though her voice quivered. Still, she pressed on, drawn by an unseen force. As she reached the clearing, a low murmur reached her ears, soft and sinister, like the rustling of secrets shared beneath the surface of her deepest fears. The phrases danced just out of reach, tantalizing and maddening. Forcing herself to take one more step, she felt a sharp chill snake up her spine. It wasn't just the wind, it felt alive. Sarah, the voice called. It was unmistakable, a deep register laced with a haunting familiarity. She froze, her body turning to ice. Sarah. It was her name, uttered in a tone that tugged at her very core. Avoiding the urge to scream, she darted her flashlight from side to side. Nothing. No one was there. Yet the call of her name echoed in her ears, pulling her deeper into the chilling embrace of the night. Something was watching her, something not of this world. Gathering her courage, Sarah approached the edge of the clearing where the burial mounds lay. Each one seemed to vibrate with energy, as if they were alive and breathing beneath the earth. She knelt, pressed her hands against the cool soil, and closed her eyes. Maybe if she listened closely, the spirits would reveal their truths. Instead, she felt a warm breath across her neck, hot and heavy. It sent a shockwave of fear rippling through her. She shot up, spinning around, but still nothing. Sweat beaded at her brow as suspense gripped her tightly. The night was eerily silent now. Not even a whisper remained. Then, crashing through the bushes behind her came a figure. Sarah's heart pounded like a drum, her breath catching in her throat as she turned. The apparition was cloaked in dark, flowing shadows. Two empty eyes glowed with a hellish light, grinning with a satisfaction that froze her blood. A piercing laugh echoed, reverberating against the trees, and then came the words that sent her stumbling back. "You shouldn't have come here, Sarah." The world tipped upside down as terror flooded her senses. She had come for the truth, but instead, she had opened a door to nightmares she couldn't possibly comprehend. Breathless and frantic, she ran, the chilling laughter following her, wrapping around her like a serpent. It chased her down the path, feeding on her fear, every echo of her footsteps mingling with the haunting whispers around her. She couldn't think. She just had to get away. But as she plunged deeper into the night, the ground began to shift beneath her, and the darkness thickened like smoke. What had she unleashed? Back in the town, the clock struck 1, and something sinister stirred among the shadows. With no way to escape the grips of the Bell Witch and a deeper mystery unraveling, Sarah realized, she hadn't just come to listen, she had become part of the legend. What comes next? She was about to learn the horrifying answer as the truth of the Bell Witch raced closer, circling like a predator. Would she face the nightmares she had unknowingly invited? The night felt alive, pulsing with dark energy as Sarah sprinted through the tangled underbrush. Her flashlight flickered wildly, casting moving, distorted shadows that played tricks on her mind. Every crack of a twig beneath her feet turned into thunder, every gust of wind a sinister laugh swirling around her, echoing her deepest fears. "Think, Sarah. You need to think." She berated herself, but her thoughts were jumbled, scattered like leaves in a storm. Panic clawed at her throat, and she forced herself to focus. The Bell Witch had spent centuries trapping souls, she could be next if she didn't escape this hellish embrace. The laughter slithered back through the trees, taunting her as if celebrating her fear. "You thought you could come here and be safe? You're mine now," the voice hissed, and she fought against the shivers racing down her spine. That eye in the thick of the treetops overhead, a flash of movement caught her eye, a dark shape darting away, disappearing into the blackness. Sarah's heart soared momentarily at the thought of finding someone, anyone, to help. But as she turned, ready to call out, a new wave of dread washed over her. The shadows seemed to shift, pooling around her, growing denser as if solidifying into a barrier. Breathing heavily, she veered off the worn path, towards the dense trees, desperate for any glimpse of light that might lead her to safety. The branches snagged at her clothing and hair like skeletal fingers reaching out to ensnare her. Her mind raced, she remembered hearing about a cave just up ahead, one that supposedly held answers about the Bell Witch and her dark legacy. It felt like a dream, hazy and ungraspable. With renewed determination, she pushed through the thicket, emerging at the mouth of the cave, a gaping maw in the hillside. She hesitated, staring into the darkness that loomed like a creature waiting to swallow her whole. This was it, her chance to confront the witch's spirit. Shaking with trepidation yet emboldened by fear, she stepped inside. A stale, earthy scent hit her as she entered, and she detected a flicker of warmth ahead. The glow began softly, then intensified, illuminating crude carvings on the walls. Symbols and crude images danced in the flickering light: the Bell family, scenes of torment, and the witch herself laughing, dark eyes gleaming with malice. "Is this what you want? To know the truth?" A low voice echoed within the cavern. It was smooth yet chilling, rippling through the air. Sarah's heart raced again, instinctively knowing she was not alone. She swung her flashlight wildly, searching for the source of the voice, but it felt omnipresent, surrounding her. "You sought power, did you not? Or perhaps just a story worth telling? But some stories are warnings, Sarah, warnings you've ignored." As her courage wavered, she felt that warm breath on her neck again, a sinister reminder of the presence lurking just beyond her sight. "What have you awakened?" it mocked. That laughter reverberated within the cave walls. Desperate and dizzy, Sarah's mind raced with every possible escape. But the deeper she moved into the cave, the more disorienting the shadows became. Each new corner seemed to snatch away the air, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Then, just as her hope began to dwindle, she spotted a faint glimmer on the ground: a necklace, perhaps. Driven by curiosity and instinct, she lunged forward and snatched it up. Simultaneously, an ear-piercing wail erupted from the depths of the cave, shaking the very earth beneath her. What had she just unleashed with that small piece of metal? The cave darkened, the walls reverberating with chaotic energy. A surge of raw power emanated from her hand, and the air crackled like a live wire. She knew, deep down, she had crossed a line, and now something ancient was coming for her. Instinctively, she stumbled backward, the cold stone grating against her skin. A voice roared from the gloom: "You dare! You will pay for this trespass." Was it too late? Would she finally face the specter that had haunted her since she arrived? As the cave vibrated with fury, the entrance behind her glimmered faintly, her only option. Sarah had no choice. She had to choose between delving deeper into the abyss of the Bell Witch's wrath or risking her life to break free from the fate she had unwittingly embraced. But what awaited her on the other side? Desperation burned in her chest as she made her choice, heart pounding against her ribs like a drum. Every step drew her nearer to the truth, but also to an inescapable confrontation. What would the witch demand in return for the horrors Sarah had ignited? The chill in the cave air wrapped around Sarah like a suffocating cloak. The roar of the voice faded, replaced by a silence thick as fog, pressing down on her with an instant vulnerability. She turned, pulse racing, caught between the yawning mouth of escape and the insatiable darkness that beckoned her deeper. The faint glow of her flashlight flickered again, and with it, the shadows danced in anticipation. "What have you awakened?" The question lingered, a taunting echo that reverberated off the stone walls like a twisted melody. That necklace, its sharp metal cool against her palm, felt heavier now, pulsing with an energy she didn't understand. "Leave now, while you still can," came another voice intermingled with the silence. This one was softer, almost pleading. "Don't anger her any more than you already have." In the dim glow, Sarah saw a figure emerge from the misty shadows: a woman, her face pale and drawn, eyes wide with terror. "I didn't mean to," Sarah stammered, "I just found this necklace." But the woman shook her head violently. "The Bell Witch isn't something you can bargain with. Only those who understand the curse know to tread lightly." The words hit Sarah like a punch. "Curse? What curse?" "Generations have flowed since the witch first sensed fear and blood," the woman murmured. "You're here looking for answers, but all you'll find is despair. That necklace, it's a key, a calling card. The witch hungers for souls. She will seek you out for your trespass." A wave of fresh panic washed over Sarah. Could she really be the next victim in this heinous tale of suffering? The cave itself seemed to breathe around her, its rocky ribs clutching at her resolve. "I need to get out," Sarah exclaimed, frantically scanning for an exit. The woman reached out as if to grab her, but melted back into the shadows. You can't escape her wrath. She cried. She will come for you, and when she does, you must be prepared to give something back. What do you mean? Sarah shouted, the cave echoing her desperation. What does she want? But before the woman could reply, the air shimmered, and an oppressive darkness surged forward. Shadows slithered against the stone walls, coiling like serpents, and the laughter of the bell which rippled through the cave like a wave of ice, sinister and relentless. So foolish, Sarah, did you truly think you could uncover the past without consequence? Heart hammering in her chest, Sarah stumbled backward and caught herself against the cold stone. She knew she had lured this hell upon herself, the weight of her curiosity now a chain binding her to this cursed fate. Flee, as fast as your legs can carry you, the woman's voice floated ghost-like through the air, but it was drowned out by the renewed wail of the witch, resonating through the cave like a siren's call. Your soul is already inked on her scroll of lost souls burning with fear and adrenaline. Sarah spun on her heel, bolting toward the cave's entrance. The hallway narrowed, and the shadows closed in around her, whispering her name with malevolence. Desperation gave her strength as she burst into the open night, but her freedom was short-lived. The air outside felt different, charged with an unnatural energy. The forest was quiet, the night unnaturally still, as if the very world held its breath. Then, without warning, a figure emerged from the shadows just beyond the trees, an outline that twisted into a familiar shape. A flicker of hope sparked in her heart. Is someone there? She called into the blackness. Sarah, the voice was dripping with seduction and malice. You can't outrun what you've awakened. Sarah's heart sank. Had she truly believed escape was even possible? With dread clawing at her insides, she turned back toward the cave, a realization dawning. She may have fled its confines, but the witch's curse was now ingrained in her. It would follow her, bloodthirsty and relentless. What could she possibly offer to quell the bell witch's rage? The answer loomed, dark and foreboding. But amidst the shadows, a flicker of defiance ignited in Sarah's chest. She would not become another tale in the witch's endless torment. With every ounce of courage, she whispered into the blackness, I'll find a way to break this curse. Little did she know, a darker fate awaited her as the true test began, a confrontation not just with the Bell Witch, but with the secrets of her own bloodline. Could she unearth her past to save herself, or would it consume her? The night air tingled against Sarah's skin, raw with dread and anticipation. Each step she took away from the cave placed a greater distance between her and the darkness, but it also deepened the weight of the witch's curse looming over her. The chill crawled up her spine with every rustle of leaves, every whisper of wind. Think, Sarah, think. She urged herself, her breath coming quick and shallow. Memories surged across her mind like a tide, piecing together a narrative she could barely grasp. What had she uncovered? The necklace. What stories lay buried in its twisted metal? She stumbled through the woods, adrenaline still seizing her limbs, heart hammering in accelerating rhythm. The oppressive silence of the forest weighed down on her, thick and suffocating. Shadows twisted in every direction, each a potential harbinger of doom. The familiar outline of her friend Kate flashed in her mind. What would Kate do? Yet, she couldn't shake the feeling that no one could help her now. Then came a voice, smooth like honey but laced with venom. You run, and yet you cannot hide. She froze, squinting into the dark. A shape loomed closer, tall and unyielding, almost ghost-like. It took her a second to recognize the face. Not Kate, no, this was an older woman, one whose features shaped her nightmares. No, Sarah rasped, her knees trembling beneath her. Sarah, you are but a child wrestling with powers you don't comprehend, the woman said, her voice soft yet threatening. The Bell Witch will come for you, and only she knows the length of your days. Stop. Just leave me alone. I never wanted this. Sarah shouted, but the echoes swallowed her words, leaving a silence so profound it rang in her ears. The woman smiled, and where there should have been warmth, Sarah only felt an ice-cold draft cutting through her resolve. You don't understand. The witch is called by blood. She wants lineage, not just flesh. You must give her something valuable, something she can use to weave her power into this realm. Sarah shook her head violently. But what does she want? How can I appease her? A tight knot formed in her throat, panic clawing at her. That is for you to discover. The necklace binds you to her. Only when you learn your true heritage will you have a chance. She gestured with her hand, and shadows swirled closer, flickering like flames ready to suffocate the last flicker of hope. Why me? Sarah's voice cracked, the weight of her fear threatening to drag her under. What does my bloodline have to do with any of this? The woman's features hardened, dark streaks forming beneath her eyes, a living portrait of despair and warning. Your family's past is closely interwoven with the Bell Witch. She craves that connection, hungers for it. Without another word, the figure faded, melting back into the shadows as if the darkness were a shroud. And just like that, Sarah was left alone again, trembling and exposed. Any sense of safety, any sense of normalcy, had been stripped from her. What would she uncover if she dared to delve into her family's history? What secrets lay buried, waiting to be unearthed? But just at that moment, a familiar sound echoed through the trees, the unmistakable laughter of a child, ringing like a bell in the night. It was sweet, innocent, and utterly wrong in the context of her plight. Sarah! It called, the playful tone taunting, leading her deeper into the woods. Against her better judgment, a flicker of longing sparked within her. Curiosity tugged at her heartstrings. In the distance, glimmers of light flickered through the forest, casting frantic shadows. Despite her better instincts screaming at her to run, she felt compelled to answer the eerie beckoning. Who was it? And what truths awaited her amid the whispers of the forest? As Sarah took a hesitant step forward, she could only wonder, was this the path to salvation, or was she opening a door that should have remained closed forever? The laughter echoed again, more insistent this time, bouncing off the trees like a mischievous sprite. Sarah, it chimed, enticing and taunting, filling the night air with an otherworldly energy. She took another step forward, heart racing, her instincts warring against her curiosity. The flickering lights drew her further into the depths of the forest. They danced playfully, weaving between trees like fireflies, but the chill in her bones hinted at a darker purpose. What are you? She whispered, feeling both drawn in and repulsed by the sound surrounding her. She brushed aside branches, pressing deeper into the foliage. The young voice seemed to weave intricate pathways, leading her to a small clearing she had never seen before, a stark contrast to the encroaching darkness. In the center stood a luminous globe formed of twinkling light, pulsating gently as if it had a heartbeat. Come closer, Sarah, the voice beckoned, laced with that same innocent lilt. Her skin prickled painfully with every instinct telling her to flee. But who could resist such an alluring call? Not wanting to seem afraid, she approached the shimmering sphere, the air thick with a strange energy that made her dizzy. As she drew near, shadows coiled around her ankles like serpents, their whispers sibilant and maddening. Your blood calls to your kin, Sarah. Answer it. They hissed, the coldness creeping deeper into her heart. Stop, she yelled, fury mixing with fear. What do you want from me? The sphere flickered intensively before stabilizing, revealing glimpses of images swirling inside an old, twisted tree standing alone in the moonlight, a woman cloaked in shadows gazing out over a town, faces of children with hollow eyes pleading silently. She gasped, the sound ripping from her throat. Sarah, you have to help us. The childlike voice pleaded again, laced with desperation. It's wrong what she did to us. We can't cross over until you know the truth. Fury drained into fear, and her heart thudded louder as the air grew thick and heavy, pulsing with a surreal rhythm. What did she do? She stammered, the weight of the necklace around her neck growing heavy. She took our lives. She needs you to call her back. Panic surged, filling her lungs, choking her. Every fiber in her being screamed to run, to get away from whatever this was. The forest felt like it was closing in on her, shadows stalking closer. I don't want any part of this. But even as she said it, the voice continued coaxing her. You're the only one who can confront her. Only you can change our fate, it urged, the sphere pulsing brighter and brighter until it felt as though the very ground under her was alive. Join our circle, the shadows hissed, drawing closer, forming long fingers that stretched toward her, as though trying to pull her in. No. She gasped, turning to flee, but the world around her spun wildly. Dark tendrils of mist curled around her legs, holding her in place. The laughter turned shrill, sharp like broken glass, and beneath it, a chorus of whispers swelled, warning, begging, then the air exploded with blinding light. The sphere erupted, sending shards of golden energy cascading through the clearing. Sarah shielded her eyes, stumbling backward, heart pounding like thunder, the realization settling heavily in her gut. She was in the middle of something she couldn't possibly understand, something ancient and powerful, and then, just as suddenly, it was quiet. The laughter faded, and the shadows retreated. The clearing was abandoned, leaving her breathless and trembling. Clutching the necklace, she felt it pulse against her skin, warm, alive. What was she meant to do? As silence enveloped her, Sarah felt a gnawing unease coil inside. But amidst the fear, a single question burned brightly: was she truly ready to uncover the dark secrets hidden in her bloodline? When she turned to leave, she spotted something glinting in the chaotic underbrush, a glimpse of a dark shape. An ancient symbol she recognized from the necklace, half buried among the roots. Gripping it tightly, she felt the weight of destiny pressing against her chest, whispering promises of the unknown. There was no turning back now. The truth was waiting, and so was the witch. But would she find salvation, or was something much darker lurking just beneath the surface? Sarah's breath came in quick gasps, her heart racing with every single thud, a percussion of fear. The shadows lingered on the edges of her vision, and she felt their presence like a weight on her back. The forest loomed ominously, abandoning any pretense of safety as the moonlight filtered through the branches like ghostly fingers. What now? She murmured to herself, the glimmering object in her hand sending a shiver of recognition through her bones. This wasn't just a random symbol, it felt like a key, begging to unlock more than just memory. It was urging her to face a darkness she didn't understand. Instinctively, she tucked the symbol into her pocket, feeling the rough edges press against her thigh, a reminder of the task ahead. I have to know who she is, Sarah whispered, though uncertainty clung to her words like wet fog. The chilling laughter danced just beyond her grasp, pushing her further into the hearts of the woods. The air shifted as she started back through the trees, brushing aside the dry leaves that crunched underfoot like distant whispers. Shadows were no longer simply dark figures weaving in the night, they were sentinels watching her every move. Was this what they meant? She was the puppet in a dreadful play, and she was terrified of the director. A low rustle pulled at her attention, a series of whispers spilled from the branches above. Sarah, come play. Childlike voices echoed, weaving through the trees. The horror tightened around her, squeezing the air from her lungs. I'm not playing. She shouted defiantly, but inside, doubt unfurled like a dark blossom. Hadn't she already committed to this dreadful game? The path she'd followed earlier twisted and turned, disorienting her sense of direction. Each step seemed to bring her deeper into a labyrinth of dread. Then, just as her confidence faltered, she spotted a flicker of light again, flashy and ethereal like a candle flickering in the dark. With heart pounding, she pressed on. The light grew, a beacon of hope in the oppressive night. But as she got closer, the warmth turned to cold, frigid air. This light was like a haunting, beautiful but deadly promise. Help us. The chorus of childlike voices echoed around her once more, wrapping around her thoughts. Find her. She is close. Suddenly, a figure stepped into the glow, an unsettling silhouette, cloaked in shadows. Sarah froze, her pulse racing. The figure was unmistakably feminine, with wild hair spilling down her back like night itself. Her eyes glimmered, but instead of the innocence she expected, there was only an ancient hunger. Who are you? Sarah croaked, losing her bravado as fear settled like a rock in her stomach. I am the guardian of forgotten souls. The figure exclaimed, her voice dripping with an eerie melody that sent chills racing down Sarah's spine. And you, dear Sarah, are the thread between this world and the next. The energy crackled around them, the air thick with tension. What do you want from me? Sarah demanded, though a tiny part of her longed to ask, who am I to you? The witch leaned closer, the glimmer in her eyes shifting to something darker. Your heritage is stained with the blood of lives lost. Only you can mend what was torn apart, or plunge us all into eternal night. An icy flicker shot through Sarah as she grasped for the hidden truth. All those images she'd seen, the twisted trees and the hollow-eyed children, they weren't merely echoes of the past. They were her past. Through clenched teeth, Sarah whispered, I want to be part of this. But as her words slipped into the silence, deep inside, she felt the pull of destiny entwining with her veins. The figure laughed softly, a sound that promised both fate and folly. You cannot escape who you are, Sarah. This night has only just begun. With that, the shadows surged, swirling around her like a tempest as she felt her body start to rise off the ground, caught in an unseen force. The ground fell away, and she was spiraling up into a storm of thoughts and half-formed memories, spinning into the darkness from which she felt summoned, and then nothing. Just darkness. As the world around her quieted, a new whisper echoed faintly within her. Find the tree, it holds the secret. But where was the tree? And was time running out? In the void, questions raged like wildfire, burning fiercely in the night. She had uncovered some of the truth, but with each revelation came a new sense of dread. It was only when the laughter returned, echoing through the blackness, that she felt the squeeze of panic wrap around her chest once more. What awaited her at the ancient tree? Salvation or ruin? Sarah gasped, the sound sharp against the stillness that surrounded her. The darkness wrapped around her like a shroud, thick and heavy, muddling her senses. Where was she now? The whispers that had echoed moments before transformed into a chilling silence that stretched on indefinitely. Breathing in the stale air, she felt a prickle at the nape of her neck, as if someone, or something, was watching her from the shadows. Yet, amidst that darkness, flickers of light began to emerge. Tiny pinpricks twinkled like stars, illuminating what seemed to be an endless expanse of twisted roots and gnarled branches. She squinted as the lights danced close, each one tethered to a memory that felt forever out of reach. Desperation clawed at her heart. She needed clarity. She had to understand what was happening. Then she remembered. The tree. The wisps nudged at her consciousness again, thoughts swirling. Find the tree. It was a mantra now, her only compass in this inky void. But how? The ground beneath her felt uneven, shifting, as though it were alive. She felt like a child lost in a dream. Every direction felt wrong. Before she could second-guess herself, Sarah began moving, shuffling through the dark. The cool earth crunched beneath her feet, and branches snapped back at her like angry fingers. Shadows swirled, clawing at her confidence as if to remind her of her fragile state. Was the guardian watching, lurking beyond sight? Get a grip. She muttered to herself, conscious of her racing heart and overwhelming fear. Each pulse of her heart echoed louder, competing with the whispers now returning faint but close. It was a haunting lullaby of lost souls, mourning, begging her to help them find peace. Please, a voice murmured, softer this time. Help us help her. The voices swirled, tugging at the threads of her memories, beckoning her deeper. In the distance, a massive shadow loomed, an impression of something ancient. Was it the tree? Fear waged war with determination as she pressed onward, the lights guiding her approach, turning her fear into urgency. Finally, an expanse opened before her. The moon bathed the colossal tree in silver light, branches wide and gnarled, each covered in moss like old memories. The atmosphere pulsed with energy, alive with tension and expectancy. She stepped closer, drawn by an unseen force that threatened to swallow her whole. Touch it, the voices whispered in unison, a gentle caress on her skin. You are ready. With trembling hands, Sarah reached out, palm against the rough bark. A surge of power coursed through her, igniting every molecule in her body. Visions flashed before her, scenes of lost children, her ancestors in despair, the fatal moment of betrayal that unraveled the threads of their fates. A sharp pain pierced her heart, twisting painfully, forcing her to gasp for air. Who had she betrayed? Who did she belong to? Find her. The voices cried out, urgency dripping from their tone. Find who? Panic crept into her thoughts, tightening like a vice. But another flicker of understanding also bloomed. The very fabric of her existence was tied to this moment. This was no longer just about uncovering mysteries. It was a fight for salvation for hers and the souls trapped in this dark despair. Suddenly, the ground tremored beneath her, and the shadows writhed like living entities. You cannot bargain with fate. A deep voice warned, rising above the chorus of whispers now sharpening into an angry refrain. Before she could fully process the warning, the light erupted, illuminating the forest in a blinding flash. Sarah stumbled back, feeling the wind pull at her from all directions. She was losing her connection. Tell me who I must save. She cried out, desperation lacing her words, but the shadows swarmed, booming with laughter that struck terror into her core. You already know. Then darkness swallowed her once more, and she was left with a single thought: was she about to uncover the truth or provoke a catastrophe that could end everything she held dear? As her world faded into nothing, the voices echoed once again, urgent. Hungry, relentless. The tree swayed ominously, keeping its secrets close. What was the real cost of knowing? Sarah felt the weight of the unknown press on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. What awaited her just beyond this darkness? Could she save the lost souls, or was she destined to become just another thread in this web of despair? The darkness around Sarah spun wildly, shattering like glass. Suddenly, she was no longer touching the tree but standing in a vast, empty room, stark and sterile, the walls pulsating with an eerie luminescence. Decor from another era surrounded her. Faded photographs hung crooked on the walls, their subjects frozen in time, eyes following her movement with a ghostly gaze. Where am I? She whispered to the void, her voice trembling. The weight of her previous discovery tugged at her. Questions flooded her mind like a storm, an overwhelming flood that was difficult to contain. Was this part of her journey? Or was it a cruel trick? A chill swept through the room. The hairs on her arms stood on end. As she scanned the area, whispers crept back into her consciousness, but this time, they formed coherent phrases. Remember, remember. They brushed against her, raw and urgent, like cold fingers caressing her skin. She stepped deeper into the room, drawn toward an old armchair positioned in the center, almost daring her to sit. Swallowing her fear, Sarah approached it. The fabric felt like sand beneath her fingers, powdered dust from forgotten days. A sudden thought struck her: what happened here? Memories, forgotten by time, stirred in her mind like a restless ocean. Who are you? A voice called from behind her, echoing through the emptiness. She spun around but found no one. Panic bubbled at the back of her throat. Show yourself. She shouted, fists clenched, heart racing. In time the voice responded, now hauntingly familiar, echoing in layers. It was soft yet powerful, an almost melodic hum that tugged at her memories. Sarah took a deep breath, her chest tightening. I am looking for someone. I need to save her. Your curiosity blinds you, child, the voice replied, and a sudden gust of wind filled the room, whipping through her hair. What if the one you seek is capable of saving herself? What if you are only leading her to further darkness? She swallowed hard, realization dawned on her. Could it be that the weight of her mission rested on her own understanding? I need to see her. I need to see the truth. In response, a light flashed, blinding her momentarily. When her vision cleared, a mirror stood before her, cracked and beset with ages of dust. But as she looked into it, her breath caught at what she saw, not only her reflection, but shadows behind her, faded figures just beyond the glass, twisting and writhing. I'm not afraid, she declared, although her body trembled. The figures shifted, revealing ghastly faces, lost souls, their sorrow etched into every horrific expression. Each one seemed to reach for her, fingers grazing the surface of the glass, seeking something she couldn't quite understand. Save us, they cried, their voices mingling into a sickening chorus of desperation. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, hands pressed against the mirror, as if she could somehow break through. "Choices have consequences," the voice warned, echoing eerily from every corner. "The one you seek may not be the one you save." Suddenly, just as fast as it had come, the light dimmed. The mirror shattered, and the room began to quake. Panic surged through Sarah, and she stumbled backward, barely avoiding shards of glass flying in her direction. The very essence of the space dissolved into an ink-black void, and she was engulfed in darkness again. Then she heard it. A small, weak cry breaking through the silence, a familiar sound echoing from the depths of the blackness. A girl was in distress. "Help me!" The voice whimpered, soft and helpless. The plea echoed within her, igniting a firestorm of determination that surged through her veins. Sarah reached into the dark, heart racing, desperate to find who was calling, but the shadows whispered again, "You must decide who will you save." Just before she could answer, she was pulled into a swirling vortex of light and darkness, and her world shifted once more. What had she truly sacrificed in this pursuit? As she spiraled deeper into the unknown, would she find the answer? Or would she lose herself forever? The urgency grew thick in the air. Who was really in danger? And what mysteries lurked just beyond her reach? The moment Sarah landed painfully on the ground, everything shifted. She was back outside the cave, but this time, the darkness felt alive, richer and thicker than before. The echoes of lost souls clung to her like a haunting perfume, an unwilling reminder of her journey. Slowly, she scrambled to her feet, the heaviness of the cursed necklace weighing down her neck as shadows flickered dangerously. Breathless and heart-pounding, she pushed herself to move, her mind racing. "Who will you save?" The words echoed in her ears, taunting her, forcing her to confront all she had discovered. She stumbled towards the twisted tree in the center of the clearing, the gnarled branches reaching out like grasping hands. A soft wind whispered around her, urging her closer. The tree pulsed with an enigmatic energy, its roots rooted in secrets lost to time. The weight of her ancestry pressed against her, she was a thread woven into this dark tapestry. Fear surged through her veins, but with it came a flicker of resolve. She wasn't just a bystander in this cruel game anymore. "No more running," she muttered fiercely, holding on to the forgotten symbol she had found earlier. It felt warm against her palm, inviting, as if it held the answers she sought. She took a deep breath, calming the fluttering dread in her chest. "I am here to end this." As she pressed her hands against the rough bark of the tree, the whispers grew louder, and for a moment, she felt the weight of consciousness wash over her. "Release us," they cried, a haunting melody mixing with her racing heartbeat. "Tell me what you need." Sarah shouted into the dark void surrounding her. "Who must I save?" The storm of shadows swirled around her, gnashing teeth and gripping tight. The tree seemed to bend, acknowledging her plea. The shimmering lights returned, illuminating the path before her, guiding her back into the memories buried in her bloodline. Then it hit her, a surge of understanding flooded her mind, bringing flashes of her family's past. Faces emerged, all entwined within her own, each connected by sorrow and sacrifice. But one face stood out in her memory, a girl, little more than a shadow, lost but familiar. It was the girl from her dreams, from the echoes she had heard. "I will save her," Sarah declared, seizing the moment. The laughter of the bell which in the distance twisted into an angry hiss she wasn't about to lose again. In that exact second, the atmosphere around her shifted. The shadows swelled, growling like a hungry beast, and the overwhelming aura of the bell which filled her with dread, making her chest tighten. "You are too late." A voice boomed, dark and furious, drowning her conviction. "The choice is not yours to make." "No," she screamed back, shaking her head defiantly. "You don't control me." With determination bubbling in her chest, Sarah pressed the symbol against the tree, the energy surging through her, igniting resistance against the oppressive force. A brilliant light exploded from her touch, illuminating the encroaching darkness. "Leave her alone," Sarah called out, her voice raw and fierce, and in that moment, the shadows hesitated, the pull binding her loosening just a fraction. Gaining strength from her fury, she shouted, "You're weak. You feed on fear and pain. I choose hope." The forest erupted in light as Sarah felt the chains of her lineage break. The girl's voice broke through, clearer than ever before, "Find me. Please." And suddenly, a surge of wind pushed her forward, connecting her to the girl, the lost spirit who shared her blood. With every step, Sarah felt the warmth of hope flow from her veins, binding her to the girl, tethering them together in an ancient dance of ancestry. She was no longer just Sarah, she was their voice, their freedom. The shadows recoiled, shrieking in protest, a wail cutting through the night. "You cannot escape your fate," they cried, but Sarah surged onward, the essence of light enfolding her, guiding her deeper into the heart of the truth. With a final breath, she broke through the shadows and into a clearing where a figure stood, a child in delicate attire, eyes wide with fear and sorrow. "I see you," Sarah shouted, arms outstretched. The child's face brightened in recognition, and without hesitation, she ran to Sarah, a radiant smile blooming in the face of despair. In that embrace, energy crackled through the air, spirits converged as the trees trembled with joy. "We are free," the girl whispered, and in that moment of connection, a shimmering wave washed over the entire forest. The chains of the past crumbled and the darkness withered. Sarah felt a warmth envelop her, swallowing fear whole. As light poured through the trees, turning the night into dawn, Sarah heard the bell witch's final, shrieking cries of fury fade into the distance. Her heart raced, the truth of her lineage coursing through her veins, as every lost soul freed surged into the air, eternally grateful. "We'll never forget you, Sarah." The spirits sang, their voices melding together, a chorus of light and hope. Standing there, the burden of doubt lifted, Sarah understood she was part of this story, connected to its heart. A tapestry of pain had woven her to the past, but now, it was a thread of bravery that would guide the future. As sunlight broke over the horizon, a brilliant warmth flooded her soul, and she took a deep inhale of newfound freedom, her eyes brimming with unbridled courage. This was only the beginning, an adventure woven into the canvas of life. The ghostly whispers of the forest faded, but their resonance remained, marking Sarah's heart and the lives she had forever touched, and as she stepped beyond the trees, embracing the dawn of her new life, she vowed to harness this truth. The adventure was far from over. Her connection to the shadows of the past had birthed a new legacy, one of compassion and understanding that would guide her steps forward. With every breath, she could feel the story coursing through her. "Time for the next chapter," she breathed, a smile breaking through the surface as she walked towards the light. "Now, the call for you, the reader, is this: you need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share. This is the moment to show your support. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this conclusion. And you have to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this incredible journey ended. Your choices matter.